tiny bit of milk and no sugar.
I like tea not too strong, but not weak, with 2 teaspoons of sugar on the milk.
Small bit of milk and 2 sugars.
Teaspoon of milk and a half teaspoon of sugar. Colette Lewis.
Lynn MacDonald.
Thomas O'Mahony.
Coffee person.
I like my milk in first, and it has to be soya milk.
Milk and 1 sugar.
Black, sugarless.
And Dove.
Nothing more flour.
The project started with this intergenerational idea and the idea of oral history, and that changed as soon as I spent time here at O'Connell Court and after the first 2 planning meetings. And it really changed because I felt like there is a precedent, I suppose, and almost an expectation that when you work with older people that you'll be dealing with the past. And I think there's an implication in that thought that there's nothing of value in the present day in some way, that the past is the only thing that's meaningful. And I suppose that after spending a little time here, I decided that I wanted to focus on the present moment and the creative exchange that can happen between people from different ages and different backgrounds. So that became the focus of the project.
Everyone kind of thinks, I suppose, O'Connell Court as a nursing home, as people, you know, when they come in, that they've no life, you know, that they don't go out, that they don't really see people. And I think this gave us the opportunity to kind of say, okay, we're not a nursing home, we're sheltered housing. It's somebody's home, you know, and that's the main thing. And that, you know, while we have maybe, you know, some residents that are very confused and that are unable to go out, we have maybe 40 residents living here with us that are very independent, very intelligent, and still very much into, you know, their families and their life outside and things like that. And I think this just gave us the opportunity to kind of show that there are people living here like that, and that it's not an institution, it's somewhere, it's their home.
One of the words that came back in the correspondence with Molly was the word ensemble, and I thought that's the first time I've ever heard anyone using that word in this context. What Molly aims or tries to do is to create an ensemble, and that for me was really special, because all the other work that I'd ever looked at that involved older people in cultural settings was very much focused on other things like the gathering of information, social history, and no matter how kind of innovative the approach, it was still on that level. It was still, those were the roles that were defined from the very beginning. So that's really what intrigued me.
It's quite hard for people sometimes to get their head around what something might look like, particularly an experimental, collaborative project, and you can't really say much more about it than, it's going to be creative. These are some of the art forms that may be used. These are the number of people, or as in artists, that may be here. We'll try it on a certain time, on a certain day, and after that it has to take a life of its own, and it's quite organic, and you're halfway through and then you begin to see the shape on it. And that sounds like people don't know what they're doing, and it's the absolute opposite. It's the skill that's needed and required in order to run a project of that nature and to work on it is quite phenomenal. And the whole, I suppose, substance of the project comes from that early experimentation and play and looking for the ideas from within the residents and the people you're working with, as well as the artists, and taking it from there and taking their direction as to which direction this should go.
The first sessions are always very delicate, because here we are, complete strangers, sitting down with a group of people who have no idea what we're doing there. Are we going to paint something? Are we going to make a poem? And so the first session, there was a live video feed, and you could just move your hands on a pillow, and you could actually see your hands on the screen. And, that has an immediate resonance for a lot of people, the gravity of the moving image, but also something just as gentle and tender as moving the hands, and sort of assuring people that, we don't know where we're going, but we're doing this together, and we're going to start exploring together in this creative space, and inviting them to come and try it out and see how they like it, and to assure them that there are no mistakes, that there's nothing that they need to be other than who they are, and to give it a chance.
At the beginning I was, God almighty, this is a funny thing, It was all strange to me at first, and then gradually I got used to it, and I liked the change, the different things in it.
Listening in the fullest of all ways is the thing that one, I think, needs the most in those early stages and all the way through. But oh gosh, something happened between two people, and you could see somebody, start to leave, even in their eyes or their mind. And sometimes all it takes is just going over there and sitting down and saying, how was that for you? Sometimes it's just those little tiny things that make the big difference. Basically, we introduced different mediums, different creative explorations. I saw very quickly that everything had to be framed carefully, very tenderly and gingerly, that we would need to constantly reaffirm our contact and build on that contact, that an ensemble, a sense of deep communication and commitment to one another and to the creative work we were doing actually did emerge and became quite magical.
It felt like that you were getting to know people on a really deep level, and very meaningful, and that all of us, in a way, talking about the forming of the ensemble, I think that was happening probably from the time we started to sit in an uncomfortable space, and after that we started to share and listen to each other, and create in various, different ways. It's from then, I think, that the ensemble started to form.
It was an evolving organic creation,
As an artist, just all the time you're making creative decisions and seeing creative possibilities and following those through.
Doing unusual things with sounds and teacups and stuff like that. So for me, I kind of felt my role in it was very much just about getting to know people, sitting with people, listening to people and seeing what they were interested in, and responding to that.
And it took a few months, and the bonding and the trip to Yule and, all the rehearsals and all the artists, So it's something that came alive, I thought, and it took off.
People began to find their own instruments and become comfortable with them, making little sounds. But mostly what I was really impressed with was the way they learned to listen. And I think our mates listening paid off in the end.
I was fascinated at watching other people watching the performances and talking to them afterwards, and the amount of people that were crying at it, and the amount of comments from the audiences that they really got sucked into it and you didn't know what to expect next.
It was a project that involved people of all ages, whether they were elderly or in school or in college or in between, just kind of coming together and I suppose expressing themselves creatively, not necessarily in a musical way, although it was like that, or in an artistic way, although it was like that as well, but just kind of expressing things and just come together and having fun as well. That's the main thing I focused on. I thought everyone enjoyed it and we all came together and just had fun.
It was exciting.
but frightening as well, because the others seemed to be very confident, you know. But I mean, I was too, really, in the end.
But the Dutch, they need a bottle of gin before they begin. But an Englishman, he needs time. And what goes on in his breast is completely suppressed by the weight of his old school tie. But ladies, let's contemplate. Who wouldn't wait for an Englishman who takes his time?
The streets of Boston are paved with good intentions. Gold, gold.
Oh Mary, this London's a wonderful place where the streets are all paved by gold.
There's no mountains like Knockarara mountains.
The mountains of Mourne are my mountains.
A stone from the foot of Knockarara.
But it's something that came alive, you know. It grew from abstract beginnings, but it kind of exposed facets of me that I did not exist in, that I'm incredibly shy, you know. And his skeleton is preserved only.
Davy Jones' locker.
That's where you go if you're not behave yourself.
Myself and got myself together. And everybody said I was very good, and I didn't seem to be nervous, but of course I was nervous because I never did anything wrong.
When we had our spin, we came out and got our towels and dried, and it was cold when we came out. But we could then have a run along the golf links.
You know, people talk about these things, but you never actually see them in action. Weren't we lucky to see it in action, to see the finished product, you know? People who cannot look after themselves, be they elderly or not, must find it difficult to leave their homes, whatever. And isn't it lovely then when they're occupied and their minds are a bit elevated to something a little bit different than just survival, isn't it? You know, so that's got to be good.
Project being intergenerational, and that you had students and you had older people, and maybe from my perception, one age group thought they were helping the other, because it was intergenerational. Nobody was being segregated in any way or being labelled this is an older person's project. This is a youth project. This was about humanity.
Oh, the days that they carry dancing, oh, the ring of a piper's tune, oh, for one of those halls of gladness, like we used to soon.
And they just have gained confidence, I think, and in a new interest and what they're capable of doing, and got to know one another and integrated with younger and people from different backgrounds, different talents. Everything, but it all, did you notice how it all came together? Everybody gave their best. It was great, you know.
I think with the project inside, and it just, the residents gave them I suppose they were like excited about it, and you could see that, and you could feel it inside in the house as well. And I think as well with it did with the staff as well, and it was kind of like you know, I'm important, you know, I'm contributing to this, you know, I'm doing this, you know. And they were, even with the residents that didn't get involved, they all had an opinion on it, you know. And I definitely think that even when some of them went to see the kind of end result, or, you know, with on Saturday and Sunday, they were kind of really amazed.
It involved you in life again, you know, and there was great bonding between not just the residents, but the artists and the directors and so on, you know, and it created a kind of a family, and
it really made a difference that you want more. You know what I mean? You want more, Chris, of it. You don't want to stop, you know?
Has been life-changing, moving, incredible, difficult to describe, but certainly has had a profound change on me as a person.
It certainly made a difference, really, in a big way, that you wouldn't even you couldn't describe it. You know, you couldn't describe the difference, and everybody else is the same. Everybody else, there's John. Everybody else is the same. Everybody else says the same. You know, that it made a difference to them. Everybody's still talking about it, so it must have been good.
The magical part of it was that it was so totally creative, and everyone's allowed to be creative to their own abilities, to how they felt on any particular day. It was just magical and mystical, and so gentle. You know, it really was.
I can't see clear yet, you know. I know it has meant so much to me now, but I know that that's only a tip of what it actually has really meant, you know.